you shouldn't even exist. I mean, we took out Cyberdyne over 10 years ago, but we stopped Judgment Day.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best twists that elevated otherwise forgettable films.
How could she fool us?
She's been passing herself off as a little girl for most of her life.
Obviously, there will be spoilers ahead. Number 30, an elaborate revenge plot, lucky number Slevin. A man named Max and his son Henry are killed by the mob.
Jeez, you just blew on the 7-horse.
What have you done with my son?
He's on his way home, just like you.
Years later, Slevin Kalevra finds himself trapped between two crime bosses, the rabbi and, fittingly, the boss. Also involved is a shadowy figure known as Mr. Goodcat. Bear with us, it gets kind of complicated. Fast forward to the ending, and we learn that Slevin is actually the young Henry from the prologue, who was spared by the assassin Mr. Goodcat after he had an attack of conscience. The movie's events were all a ploy concocted by Slevin and Goodcat to get revenge on the rabbi and the boss, both of whom had ordered the death of Max.
You? No. You're dead. You're dead!
It's a neat little family-based twist that elevates an otherwise run-of-the-mill mob thriller. Number 29. Hartley is a con man. Red Notice. Despite its star-studded cast, Red Notice really flew under the radar and garnered a middling reception. A traditional heist caper, it involves 3 people fighting over stolen jewels that once belonged to Cleopatra.
Booth, I'm curious. How's it feel to be sold out by the most wanted art thief in the world?
I'm the most wanted art thief in the world.
You were.
John Hartley is the FBI agent on the trails of professional thieves Nolan Booth and Sarah Black. Or is he? Turns out Hartley is actually a con man, and the husband of Sarah, and they're both working together against Nolan. They targeted the thief and used him to find the location of the third and final jewel, which they proceed to snag for themselves.
It was all a lie? Even the sob story about your dad?
No. My dad was a con man and I hated him. So I decided to become better than he ever was. Beat him in his own game.
It's these types of twisty, who-can-you-trust mind games that make heist thrillers so much fun. Number 28. Donnie was the mastermind. Den of Thieves. At this point, we should always expect an otherwise unassuming member of a gang to be the true criminal mastermind. Den of Thieves follows a police detective named Nick O'Brien as he tries to stop a gang from robbing the Federal Reserve.
Dealing with a different animal here, boys.
One of the gang's members is getaway driver Donnie Wilson, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. In the exciting climax of the film, Nick successfully recovers the bags of stolen money, only to find them filled with shredded paper. What he doesn't find is Donnie, who had swapped the bags and taken the cash for himself, having orchestrated the whole heist from the get-go.
You know everything was accounted for at the Fed, right?
Apparently so.
It's a great way to end what is essentially just a ripoff of Heat. Number 27. Cliff and Sydney are the killers. A Perfect Getaway. This ironically named movie takes place in Hawaii and concerns 3 couples, Cliff and Sydney, Nick and Gina, and Kale and Cleo.
Well, you didn't say you were doing the trail, so...
Well, neither did you.
Look, we offered you a ride. You didn't want it. You didn't take it. So I don't really understand what the issue is.
The couples meet on a remote hike, but they become wary of each other when a homicide is reported in the area, with the perps being described as a man and woman. Kale and Cleo are eventually arrested for the murders, which surprises no one considering their generally creepy nature. Of course, it was all a red herring. The real killers are who we least expected: Cliff and Sydney, 2 drug users who murder tourists and assume their identities.
She was kind of classy, huh?
Hey, Rule 2, keep your game face on. Come on, honey.
The movie is much smarter than your average thriller, and this twist is certainly a big part of it. Number 26. Millie and Nick are working together. Reindeer Games. Okay, pay attention because this gets complicated. So Nick and Rudy are prison cellmates, but Nick is killed in a fight. When Rudy gets out, he pretends to be Nick and meets Ashley, with whom Nick had been exchanging letters.
Look, Ashley, I'm sorry. I I was scared that I was going to walk out there and you were going to take one look at me and just turn around. You know, I was scared I was walking out of heartache.
Then he gets sucked into a casino heist planned by Ashley's brother Gabriel. Fast forward a bit and we learn that Gabriel and Ashley are actually lovers, not siblings. Plot twist 1. Plot twist 2, Nick shows up alive and well. And plot twist 3, Ashley is actually Millie Bobek, and she's been working with the presumed dead Nick from the very beginning. Get all that? Point is, it's a fun reveal that adds some much-needed spice to an otherwise ho-hum heist thriller.
I always wanted to rob that casino, Rudy. Way back when I worked there. What better way than to get some guys to rob it for me?
Number 25. Tom took on Rogue's identity. War. Jet Li plays Rogue, a Yakuza assassin who is seemingly shot and killed by FBI agent Tom Lone.
Did you get him? I got him. You sure? Took one in the face. He's dead, relax.
However, he survives and murders Tom and his family before burning down their home. Later, Rogue fights Yakuza boss Shiro Yanagawa, who realizes that he is not actually Rogue, but the supposedly deceased Tom Lone. Tom had pulled a trick on both the Yakuza and the audience. He killed Rogue that night, put his wedding ring on his finger, and burned the house down to make his corpse unrecognizable.
You're Tom Lone. Change it your face, your voice, all so you could get to me.
He then had his face surgically altered to resemble Rogue so he could go on a revenge spree. There's nothing like a good face swap plot twist to help a movie stand out. Number 24. Anna imagined Alex and killed everyone. The Uninvited. While it's a lesser remake of the Korean film A Tale of Two Sisters, The Uninvited is a decent enough flick that's redeemed by a solid plot twist. The movie follows sisters Anna and Alex, who are convinced that their father's new girlfriend Rachel murdered their mother in a house fire.
The fire wasn't an accident. It was her.
Tensions build, and Alex ultimately murders Rachel. But as we eventually learn, most of the movie's events took place in Anna's head. Suffering from mental illness, Anna accidentally killed both her mother and Alex in a house fire, and pinned the blame on Rachel as a coping mechanism.
I did exactly what you asked.
Did what, Anna?
I finished what I started.
She then imagined Alex and murdered Rachel as a result of her worsening delusions. It's a great twist that deepens both the plot and Anna's character. Number 23. Everyone is Dead. Passengers. They Were Dead All Along is a tricky twist that is not often welcomed by audiences. In fact, reactions to it can be pretty darned hostile, but we think it gives this otherwise unmemorable film a memorable kick. It certainly helped us remember it.
When did you first realize that something was wrong?
The concept is simple. Anne Hathaway is Claire Summers, a psychotherapist who counsels the survivors of a plane crash. But they're not actually survivors. In reality, everyone died in the accident, including Claire, who's having trouble accepting her demise and is imagining herself as a psychotherapist. Talking to other deceased people was a way to help her come to terms with her own death.
And everyone else?
They're just here to help us find our way.
It works. In the end, Claire finally accepts her new position and sails into the afterlife. Number 22. Maggie is Freddy's daughter. Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. As the title suggests, this was meant to be the final movie in the Elm Street franchise. And what better way to end it than with a little patricide? A John Doe is brought to a youth shelter, which is run by Dr. Maggie Burrows.
How long have you been awake?
As far as I can remember, or no, about 3 days.
Looks more like 3 weeks.
Together, they discover that the mythical Freddy Krueger had a child. Maggie checks her adoption papers and discovers that she is that child. Her real name is Catherine Krueger, but it was changed when Freddy was arrested. So she confronts her father, pulls him into the real world, and sticks a pipe bomb in his chest.
Happy Father's Day.
The family dynamics are interesting, and it gives the franchise a satisfying ending. Or rather, what should have been its ending. Number 21. They're All in a Killer's Mind. Identity. This is a highly divisive movie, and it all boils down to its famous twist. For some, this was just another forgettable Agatha Christie movie, with people being mysteriously killed off in an isolated motel.
Jesus, mother of God. Who is this?
The woman I was driving.
The story is inspired by And Then There Were None, and for many, it was a pale imitation of it. Until that twist. We learn that these people are actually the personalities of Malcolm Rivers, a murderer suffering from dissociative identity disorder. Malcolm's psychiatrist is attempting to remove the different personalities, which we see visualized as the violent events in the motel. Just when we thought this was another ordinary murder mystery, in comes this wild twist to prove us all wrong.
I need you to understand, the killer cannot survive.
It's divisive, yes, but it's certainly unforgettable. Number 20, The Devil's Identity, Devil. Devil deserves points for an exciting premise. 5 strangers are trapped in an elevator. One by one, a person is killed by someone in the group while everyone tries to figure out the culprit.
He's probably trying to figure out which one of us is the murderer.
Although it's an interesting story setup, Devil becomes too similar to Saw. The film basically becomes about how gruesome the next death will be. These cheap thrills aren't particularly exhilarating until the climax. It turns out that an elderly woman who died early on is the true villain. Even more surprisingly, she's the actual devil. The antagonist deliberately trapped sinful people together to collect their souls.
You're not good.
I know.
You think you can make up for the choices you made?
No.
You think you can be forgiven?
This flips Devil's story on its head, since each person deserves to be held responsible for their crimes. Number 19, The Real Villain, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. This fantasy adventure is about protagonist Clara bringing peace to a magical land. She teams with the Sugar Plum Fairy while grieving her mother's death, the former queen of the realms.
Mother Ginger's the one who began this war. I hope you'll be the one to finish it.
The film's good versus bad outline lacks originality, feeling like a rehash of superhero movies. Its twist does signify deeper themes relating to Clara's loss, as Sugar Plum's betrayal comes to light. Mother Ginger, the supposed villain, is revealed to be falsely accused. Perceiving the death of Clara's mother as abandonment, Sugar Plum plans to become queen in her place.
Your mother abandoned us. And then? She just expects us to carry on and play nice. Well, I don't want to play nice!
Meanwhile, Clara accepts losing her mother, empowering herself to defeat the villain. This turn of events contrasts the two characters, adding the required emotional depth that's lacking for most of the story. Number 18, The Real Brahms, The Boy.
Miss Evans, allow me to introduce Mr. Hilscher.
Miss Evans.
And this is our son, Brahms.
American nanny Greta is given the strange job of looking after a porcelain doll named Brahms. This begins a drawn-out plot about odd events surrounding the doll, which convinces Greta that it's possessed by the spirit of her employer's deceased child. Unfortunately, much of the boy's runtime is about jump scares that don't do much to move the plot forward. It's only at the end when the payoff for these shock value moments arrives. Brahms, the titular boy, isn't actually a boy. He's not even a ghost. Brahms has been alive this whole time, living within the house's walls to spy on Greta.
Miss Brahms. It can't be.
The movements of the doll were all orchestrated by Brahms himself, providing an impressive turn of events to an otherwise formulaic film. Number 17, The Truth Behind the Community, Don't Worry, Darling. In a seemingly idyllic 50s town called Victory, housewife Alice Chambers starts to notice things are off. She realizes her husband Jack and all the men are hiding a secret.
Do you even know what Frank is actually
It's
doing?
classified. We're not even allowed to discuss our jobs with other departments. You know that.
What if Margaret was right?
Stop it, Alice.
What if this place is dangerous? What if—
Stop it!
Don't Worry, Darling suffers from an identity crisis, not fully committing to being a psychological thriller or a commentary on male fragility. After wasting some of its runtime on these themes, the final act of the movie turns things around. Alice comes to know that Victory isn't real. It's a simulated reality where she and the other women are trapped by the men.
Do you consent to the physical and medical requirements for entry to Victory?
Yes.
Are you aware that you are responsible for the physical upkeep of your chosen life?
Yes.
This brings context to the odd behavior of most of the characters, as they knew the secret all along. The revelation also adds much-needed tension to Alice's bid for freedom. Number 16, Crash Landing, Life. Life is too similar to other alien-based films to feel original, featuring a story about a species that slowly takes out a space crew one by one. It has a rather generic plotline where the characters figure out a way to stop Calvin the alien.
Control. This is Station. Station for Control. The specimen's location is unknown. It is to be considered hostile and deadly. Our intent is to isolate and destroy it in compliance with protocol.
The ending makes it appear that Miranda North has escaped, while David Jordan has sacrificed himself to prevent Calvin from reaching Earth.
You fly out into deep space.
With Calvin, yes. Meanwhile, you get into Boat B. You press the button, and if there are no complications, then it takes you back home.
No, we should lure Calvin together.
Miranda, that doesn't make any sense.
The film's final moments are where this seemingly predictable story takes a huge turn, as it was Miranda's pod that was knocked off course while David has reached Earth with Calvin. This changes life's direction completely, leaving us stunned with the chilling realization that humanity might be doomed. Number 15, Morty's real identity. Click.
Where's the box? Does it come with directions?
Not necessary. Just point, click. Eventually, it will program itself.
Perpetually frustrated, Michael Newman is offered a time-skipping remote by a mysterious man named Morty. While Michael initially has fun with it, his life ultimately spirals out of control. Click has some emotionally stirring moments, but the slapstick comedy can become annoying to watch. The premise also overstays its welcome after several time skips. But the reveal of Morty's true nature saves the movie. With decades skipped beyond salvation, Michael finds out that Morty is the angel of death.
An angel, Michael.
An angel? I thought an angel was supposed to protect people.
An angel of death.
The remote was a way for Michael to appreciate his life, giving him an extremely long lesson to learn. Unlike stereotypical portrayals of the angel of death, Morty isn't an evil entity, but someone who shows Michael that he's been making the wrong decisions in life. Number 14, Jamie's father, Dead Silence. Jamie Ashen tries to figure out a way to end his family's curse as the ghost of ventriloquist Mary Shaw looks to end his bloodline.
All these years you've resented me for sending you away, but I did it to distance you from this curse.
Taking a slow build toward its conclusion, Dead Silence spends a lot of its runtime showing the protagonist lost and confused. Jamie's story is riddled with many bait-and-switch moments until he thinks he's beaten Mary by destroying her last doll. However, the final moments have Jamie realize that he was led astray. His father turns out to be a doll controlled by his wife, who is possessed by Mary. With no place to run, a horrified Jamie learns this is how his demise was planned the whole time.
Now, who's the dummy?
Although the villain wins, the manner of her victory does deserve praise. Number 13, Tim's Endgame, 7 Pounds. 7 Pounds has earnest intent with its story about the power of kindness.
Because you are a good man.
No, really.
Even when you don't know that people are watching you.
But it gets very melodramatic as the film goes on, making it a bit of a drag to watch. It follows Ben Thomas, who seeks to help supposed strangers. Keeping up with the abundance of characters is difficult until the ending ties everything together. we learn Ben is actually Tim Thomas, who was responsible for causing multiple deaths in an accident. Tim is giving his organs away to people in need to redeem himself, culminating in his own demise to save 7 lives.
I got lung cancer and I needed a double lobe transplant. Tim could only give me one, of course. I must have planted a seed.
His sacrifice justifies every interaction he's had in the film, carving out Tim's role as a tragic hero and slapping viewers right in the feels. Number 12. The truth about the Devereaux, the skeleton key.
Look, you said the house had a history, right? Hoodoo is pretty harmless. Harmless how? Well, it's psychological, like a lot of that stuff. Can't hurt you if you don't believe it.
This supernatural horror contains many scenes with characters talking about hoodoo. All this exposition dulls the skeleton key's quality since so much talking leaves little room for scares. Kate Hudson's character, Caroline, becomes a caretaker of an elderly couple, the Devereaux. The initially skeptical protagonist eventually believes the old people are hoodoo practitioners and tries to escape. But it turns out that all of Caroline's research was manipulated to make her believe in hoodoo and prepared for possession. The Devereaux are century-old body snatchers who lure young people to their plantation. Caroline and estate lawyer Luke are the latest in a long line of victims. All the talk of hoodoo in the film were discreet hints for viewers to prepare for this grand twist.
I think it fits you beautifully. It's better than Violet. Or Grace, even. We'll get used to it. We always do.
Number 11. The truth about Gabriel. Malignant. Director James Wan frequently uses slow burn stories with a twist. Malignant follows this template as well. It begins when mistreated Madison Mitchell's violent husband is killed.
You're in a hospital. Where's Derek? Do you remember what happened? Someone broke into your house. You were attacked? And Derek?
Madison learns that her childhood imaginary friend Gabriel is behind the deaths of people connected to her. Although the film repeats this cycle of violence more than necessary, the twist of Gabriel's sudden reappearance is worth the wait. We learn that Gabriel is Madison's parasitic twin brother, who can control her body. After being extracted from her at childbirth, Gabriel's consciousness has remained in her mind.
One twin is dominant while the other is underdeveloped. It's not considered conjoined because the underdeveloped twin is dependent on the body of the other. Like a parasite, Gabriel feeds off Emily.
The hunt for the killer went around in circles because Madison was indirectly the killer all along. This clever twist alters the context of the film's events and sets up its horror-filled ending. Number 10. David's Dream. Vanilla Sky. Vanilla Sky opens with David Ames providing his account of the events that ruined his life. An accident leaves David's face disfigured, alienating him from his lover Sophia.
Let's get it all out. Say everything now. Let's just
David.
Say everything now. Now.
I'll tell you in another life when we are both cats.
Incoherent storytelling techniques and constant tonal changes in the narrative make it confusing to keep up with Vanilla Sky. But the climax answers why David's life is a blur. He's been in cryogenic sleep for over a century, waiting for technology to develop enough to repair his disfigurement. All the mayhem shortly after his accident was a glitch in his lucid dream, causing his feelings of guilt and sadness to catch up to him.
Your subconscious did create problems. Your dream turned into a nightmare, and this gentleman was able to uncover the fabric of our work. The glitch has been corrected.
The ambiguity of David's fate is a clever way to leave viewers contemplating what comes next. Number 9. The Cat. Fallen. This supernatural horror movie's plot has Detective Hobbs and Jonesy track the demon Azazel, who possesses people hoping to cause global calamity.
Just tell me what they want.
The demons? They want the fall of civilization, the fall of Babylon, as they put it.
The premise quickly takes a downturn since Azazel's body hopping becomes played out and nothing else really happens. Fallen also comes across as too convoluted for a horror movie, but this makes way for an ingeniously simple twist no one would see coming. Before letting Azazel take over his body, Hobbs poisons himself while at a secluded cabin to ensure the demon is stranded forever.
You don't smoke anymore.
cigarettes kill. Especially cigarettes laced with poison.
However, Azazel breaks the fourth wall to mock us for thinking the good guy would win, as he possesses a cat to head back to civilization.
Oh. You forgot something, didn't you? At the beginning, I said I was going to tell you about the time I almost died.
This intellectual twist proves the devil does come in many forms. Number 8. Remy's true reality, Repo Men. This movie's premise is about repo men in the future whose job is to repossess artificially enhanced organs.
My job is simple. Can't pay for your car, the bank takes it back. Can't pay for your house, the bank takes it back. Can't pay for your liver, well, that's where I come in.
The main character, Remy's attempt to escape the repossession of his heart eventually spirals into a predictable chase story. The story seems to reach its cliché happy ending when a glitch brings everything back to reality. It's revealed that Remy's injury at one point in the film had caused severe brain damage, and all that he sees is part of a simulation.
Let's go, buddy.
Remy and his love interest are actually barely alive, meaning the happy ending only exists in Remy's mind. This subverts usual action movie stereotypes in favor of a dark and realistic conclusion that is bittersweet yet thought-provoking at the same time.
Sweet dreams, buddy.
Number 7. Ender's Simulations, Ender's Game. Ender's Game follows the titular character's training to prevent an alien invasion. He partakes in simulations of the alien race known as Formix, gaining victory through his strategically brilliant mind.
Ender, watch our right flank. We need backup for Bernard. I see it. Bernard, you flank them.
Copy that, using 10 through 18.
Alive, peel right. Dink, compensate for the pull of planet G8 and go full throttle.
However, the film devotes a lot of time to the gaming aspect, which prevents the supporting characters from having much depth. It's only by the ending that the importance of the many simulations becomes apparent. Ender finds out that these were all happening in real time, and he's responsible for wiping out most of the Formic race. It's a solid twist that turns the protagonist into a villain without anyone realizing it.
I will bear the shame of this genocide forever.
No. You will be remembered as a hero.
I will be remembered as a killer!
The reveal of the Formic's true peaceful nature makes Ender's misunderstood actions all the more tragic. Number 6. Betrayal, Smokin Aces. FBI agents Messner and Carruthers are tasked to keep the informant Aces alive from mob boss Barazza's bounty.
No former witness against the mob has been as crucial or as important as Buddy. Aces is real. He's not only essential to our case, he is our case.
Unfortunately, the influx of many characters turns this into a highly convoluted plot that runs around in circles until the climax presents the big twist. The FBI is revealed to be working with the mob, as Barazza himself is an informant, and Ace's father, whom the FBI hand over as part of their deal.
The Bureau betrayed us.
Wake up.
You betrayed us, Deputy
Stop
Director
pointing
of
your-
Locke. You betrayed us the way you betrayed them. You
Shift.
f***ing asshole.
Disgusted that the FBI's own corrupt activities caused so many deaths, Messner pulls the plugs on both Aces and Barazza to destroy everyone's plans. After messing around with the plot so much, Smokin Aces' morally appropriate ending presents a great contrast to all the prior over-the-top violence. Number 5. Everything Comes Full Circle, Final Destination 5. The Final Destination movies have never been critical darlings, mainly because the plot lines lack many surprises.
We all gotta get off.
What are you talking about?
The bridge is gonna collapse.
What?
We're all gonna die.
What the hell is going on?
We're all gonna die if we don't get off this bridge now!
Final Destination 5 follows the same pattern, featuring yet another group's attempts to escape death, but meeting their ends in gruesome ways. The main plot ends as expected, with the survivors planning to leave on a plane to celebrate their supposed victory over death.
Are you kidding me? You're gonna make me sit in the middle seat?
Uh-huh.
I'm like twice your size.
Not really.
All right.
However, it's then that the flight is confirmed to be the one shown in the first movie, meaning that everything that's happened so far has been set up by death to lead to this moment.
Those passengers who got off the plane earlier, what was that all about?
Oh, a kid had a panic attack and wanted off the plane. Said he had some kind of vision.
No.
Oh my God.
As the plane crashes, the story comes full circle for the franchise, making it symbolic of the circle of life and death. Number 4, Judgment Day, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
No bombs fell. Computers didn't take control. We stopped Judgment Day.
By this point, it was obvious that the series would copy the format of the previous 2 movies. Terminator 3 does indeed follow this style, with the titular character now protecting an adult John Connor from another advanced Terminator sent by Skynet.
You here to kill me?
No. You must live.
The story is on course for the usual sacrifice by the Terminator, but the final moments take an original twist never seen before in the franchise. It turns out that Judgment Day could never be prevented, as was always believed, and that Skynet had already initiated nuclear bombs to begin a worldwide massacre.
John, what is he saying?
Judgment Day. The end of the world. It's today, 3 hours from now.
Terminator 3 baits the viewer into a false sense of security to leave fans speechless as the series' promise of a dystopian future finally comes to pass. Number 3, Esther's True Nature, Orphan. This psychological horror story centers around the adoption of a young child whose arrival sparks several incidents. Orphan is largely formulaic, with obvious signs of young Esther being an evil child.
Then you were just pretending this whole time?
I thought you would enjoy teaching me. It must be frustrating for someone who loves music as much as you, to have a son who isn't interested and a daughter who can't even hear.
The build-up seems to point toward a cliché turn for the worst from Esther, but the reveal of her true nature comes out of nowhere. As it turns out, Esther is an adult woman posing as a young girl, meaning her malicious activities were the premeditated actions of a murderer and not a disturbed child.
She only looks like a child, according to our records. Lena Klammer was born in 1976. She's 33 years old.
The twist gives the thriller the eerie sense of horror it was going for. It also makes Orphan a highly rewatchable flick, as it's interesting to go back and find clues for this twist hidden all along.
Go to your room.
Honestly, we're past that now, aren't we?
Number 2, The Truth About Eli, The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli sees the titular character's attempt to preserve the last copy of the Bible while escaping a warlord who wants the book's knowledge.
Just staying alive is an act of faith. Building this town is an even bigger act of faith, but they don't understand that. None of them. And I don't have the right words to help them, but the book does.
This dystopian movie has similarities with the critically acclaimed Mad Max series, but relies on the mystery of its protagonists so much that the action becomes a drag to watch. However, the closing moments show Eli's been hiding an even bigger secret, as the Bible is written in Braille, revealing that Eli was blind the whole time.
The first book of Moses, called Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1.
Having given no obvious clues, the twist places the protagonist's actions in a bigger context and signs off with an uplifting message. Eli's journey was always meant to be spiritual, which changes the previously bleak outlook of the film in an instant.
It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't have to make sense. It's faith. It's faith. It's the flower of light in the field of darkness that's giving me the strength to carry on. You understand?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Secret Accomplice, Saw 3D. The 7th movie loses all the nuances and thoughtful commentary from previous entries. Instead, Saw 3D is a straight-up gore fest that relies completely on the traps. The flick's plot sees Mark Hoffman simply off everyone in his path and then take down Jigsaw's wife Jill out of revenge.
This person will go on killing until he's stopped. You know him, and he definitely knows you.
Is that right?
He's Detective Mark Hoffman.
However, Dr. Gordon, whose status was never clarified until this film's opening scene, shows up to attack Hoffman before he can escape. It's revealed that Gordon was Jigsaw's secret accomplice all along, meaning he had a hand in everything that happened in the series.
Hello, Dr. Gordon. You are perhaps my greatest asset.
This ties up all loose ends in one go, and at least gives this by-the-numbers movie the huge twist fans were looking for.
Game over.
Can you think of any other examples? Let us know in the comments.
You're my blood. Only you could have brought me out. And you're mine.
But you can't be my father.
They took you away from me. But I made them pay.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.